Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, John Urban. Joining me as usual, City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Rohloff. Mark, thanks for being with us.
Great to be here, John.
We're going to be talking about the highlights for the upcoming Tuesday, November 26th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Before we get to the meeting, though, of course, we'd like to talk a little bit about some things happening here in the City of Oshkosh, Mark. And we got a lot of things happening, as usual, this time of year with a lot of holiday stuff. And we're going to start off talking about Mother Nature came early, as we all know. It's kind of put a little screwiness into our leaf pickup, and we kind of want to talk about that.
Yeah, it really is a tough situation. We have to transfer our leaf trucks into our snow trucks, and that's been a challenge over the last couple weeks. So technically, leaf pickup ends on Friday, November 22nd. So by the time many people are watching this show, it'll be over. If there's some unfinished areas that were on our route, we didn't finish them up, we're going to try to get out there, but we can't make any promises because we really need to get our trucks out ready for snow. So loose leaf collection, even though it's supposed to end Friday the 22nd, we'll try to do more, but we will continue to encourage people. The first week of December, put leaves in the bags, we'll pick them up. Otherwise, we encourage people to take them to the yard waste drop-off site, which is still going to be open 7 days a week through the end of the month. So please consider that as an option because if you haven't put the leaves out by now, it's probably too late for us to vacuum them up.
All right, and as we tape this, Thanksgiving is a week away, and that impacts some city services and what happens. So we want to share some of these updates with the citizens.
It does. Thanksgiving Day is the only formal holiday for that weekend, so there'll be no transit service, no GO Transit on Thanksgiving Day, and there'll be no garbage or recycling collection. If you get picked up on Thursday normally, that pickup will be on Friday. City Hall's closed on Thursday. Everything will resume. So like the normal refuse and recycling schedule, you go 1 day back. So Thursday goes to Friday, Friday goes to Saturday.
And we haven't had a lot of snow recently, but of course we can't avoid that. I'm sure that's coming. We want to remind everyone about the snow pickup and how that works in terms of clearing off your driveways and so forth.
Right. Well, we ask people to remove the snow and ice within 24 hours of a snow event. If you don't, somebody can call you in, and we'll go out there, and if it's not cleaned up, we'll have to do it and charge you for it. I would prefer that we have zero calls, to be honest with you, but we know there's some people who don't pay attention, and we have to do something to ensure public safety. So fortunately, it isn't this dire right now, but clear it within 24 hours. Please don't cover fire hydrants when you're blowing snow. In fact, if you can clear out your fire hydrant if you have one near your house, please do so. That would help in the case of an emergency. And of course, don't throw snow in the street. You're just creating a cycle where the snow will never end if you keep doing that.
Let's talk about something fun as it relates to the snow. Let's talk about Celebration of Lights coming up. This is the 18th annual starting this week.
What a wonderful tradition we have in Oshkosh. And the volunteers, this is a volunteer organization that does all this. They're out there right now putting everything in place so that on November 29th, they're going to start Celebration of Lights, and it's going to run, because Thanksgiving's late this year, they're running Celebration of Lights a little later through January 4th. It's 5:30 to 9 every night. There's all the information, OshkoshCOL.org, and some pictures from last year that everybody was able to enjoy. We had more than 15,000 vehicles go through Menominee Park last year for Celebration of Light. So it shows you what just a wonderful event it is. And people come from all over the area. A lot of, certainly Oshkosh people, but a lot of people from the area because it's become such a wonderful tradition.
Now, and again, the radio station, WOCT-FM 101.9, they're going to be helping supply music for the event.
They're going to be piping music. Just turn on your radio and enjoy the lights and the celebration as we go through. And then, of course, there's a lot of other things there. The Santa's reindeer and all of that. There's places to stop to get a hot chocolate and enjoy that. And I believe you get a discount if you bring a can of food. So all those little things are going on. We're still entering off of, I believe it's Merritt Street. So, be on the lookout for that. Please to just, be careful as you're driving through the streets as you lead up there.
While we're talking about Oshkosh FM 101.9, let's talk about the holiday music mix. That's going to be playing November 29th through the 4th of January, weekdays from 4 until midnight, and weekends from 5 a.m. to midnight. So you can get your fix of Christmas and holiday music on Oshkosh FM 101.9. All right, Mark, let's talk about another event that's been going on for a long time here in the city of Oshkosh, and that's the annual Fire Department Food and Toy Drive.
More holiday events, the 21st year for our fire department, where they go door to door in neighborhoods throughout the city, collecting food, toys, as well as cash donations for the Salvation Army. And the cash goes for funding scholarships that the fire department puts out. So you can even give us wrapping paper and things like that. But if you want to know what routes they're going to be doing this year, they don't hit the same routes every single year in some of the locations. But go to OshkoshFD.com or the Oshkosh Fire Department Facebook page, and you'll get all the information. But Santa will be on one of the fire trucks, and the firefighters and various people. I've been known to hit one of these as well. It's a lot of fun.
It's pretty cool. If people aren't aware of it, describe what it is, though.
You have a whole caravan of fire trucks and other emergency apparatus that aren't on duty that are blazing through the neighborhood with the sirens and the sounds and the music. And people come out, and I've seen literally people run into their pantry and say, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming." Right. They run out of their pantry and they're handing over food because they know what a great cause it is. Other people, there is one family that their entire living room is filled to floor to ceiling. I'm not exaggerating, floor to ceiling with gifts, and they give easily 100 gifts that they wrap up. That's their holiday, and so the amount of work they do is incredible. And our firefighters all donating their own personal time to do this. They have members of their family come. It's a wonderful family event, and it really says a lot about our fire department and also something great about our community.
Let's recap some of the statistics of this event, though, since 2010. It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. 40,000 pounds of food, 26,000 toys, plus $19,000 in donations. And most of those donations are quarters and dollar bills that are done. These are people that just want to give out of the kindness of their hearts. And that's allowed the Salvation Army to provide help to 524 families in the Oshkosh-Fox Valley area just last year. So it is a wonderful event. We're very proud to be associated with it.
So again, if you want to know the routes for that particular, where they're going to be coming, go to the Facebook and go and put in Oshkosh Fire Department Food and Toy Drive, and then you'll be able to find out where the routes are going to be coming up for the Holiday Food and Toy Drive for the Oshkosh Fire Department. Okay, Mark, let's turn to another topic, and that's talking about this Jackson Street Corridor Plan and Safety Study. And I understand the council is seeking public input on what they should or shouldn't do with Jackson.
Well, Jackson is really two separate areas that we're talking about. There's the Jackson Street south of Murdoch, which is the neighborhood association, and they have certain concerns about safety and land use and things like that. It's urbanized, residential, and a lot of historic homes, and so they have a totally different character, but it is that Jackson Street corridor that goes from Interstate 41 into town. So the second section is that area north of Murdoch going up to Interstate 41. That's more of a residential, commercial, industrial mix area. It really evolves the farther north you get. But we want input in terms of how that can be a good gateway, not necessarily land uses, but how do you want it to look? What should the corridor look like? So it's one of our gateways into the city. We wanted that input. So we are putting together a public input meeting. It's going to be on December 11th. It's going to be at Oak Lawn Elementary School in their cafeteria, and it's going to be 6 to 7:30 p.m. So that's the first of several. We'll keep people posted on it, but encourage people to come and give us your input on what you'd like to see in the future.
All right. Just recently this week, Governor Evers was in town. What was he in town for?
He was in town to sign some bills that had been approved by the legislature, some bipartisan stuff. There were several bills there. One in particular, Fire Chief Mike Stanley was there, and this was Assembly Bill 427, and it allows departments like the Oshkosh Fire Department to apply for federal programs that's tied to Medicare and EMS protocols. Basically what it does, it allows us to be reimbursed for services that would be authorized by a health provider. Currently, we're not able to be reimbursed because we're only allowed to be reimbursed if it's an emergency, us taking somebody to a hospital. But if they take them to another healthcare facility, right now we can't be reimbursed. This would allow us to be reimbursed and really allows the patient to be taken to the appropriate location. So Governor Evers was there to sign those bills. Chief Stanley spoke about AB 427 and had a nice chance to chat with the governor and thank him for him and the Assembly's work on this bill, because I think this is going to make our fire department more effective, and it's really going to provide a better service to our residents.
We also want to take an opportunity to plug the replays of the November 14th Oshkosh Holiday Parade. That was taped in downtown Oshkosh, and Mark, that had a great crowd there, and we're going to be running replays on that throughout the holiday season.
Well, you know, there was a lot of concern because the weather was just getting so nasty already, but what a great turnout that we had in the community, and it's so nice to see so many of the community groups that are out there celebrating the holidays, and great family turnout, gets people downtown, so it's a wonderful family event, and if you haven't seen it on Channel 2, encourage people to go do that.
And I'm told you can watch it via OshkoshMedia.org online. You can also watch it through Roku or your Apple TV app as well. So it's also on Spectrum Channel 2. So again, check that out. If you have any questions, please visit OshkoshMedia.org for replay times. A couple other holiday events, Mark, coming up here that are being put on by both the Public Library and the museum. And let's start with the museum with their Deck the Halls exhibit.
One of my favorites for the holiday season. This year, they're going to be featuring Santa's Toy Workshop, and it runs from November 24th through January 5th, so all the way through the holiday season. If you have family or friends visiting from out of town, absolutely encourage you to check it out. The Santa's Toy Workshop, I think, has a good kids oriented theme to it, so I think you'll enjoy that. And then you get to see all the other things of the museum. You know, you hear kids tell us about their experiences at the museum, and they talk about the Apostles' Clock, which is always a classic. But it's really, when we say deck the halls, this place is really decked out for the holidays, and you'll love to see the old Sawyer home come to life in the holiday spirit.
And so that exhibit runs at the Public Museum for the better half of the holiday season here, starting the 24th through the 5th. Switching over to the library, they're going to be participating in a national event called #Giving Tuesday. I'm not sure what this is about.
This is it's done nationwide, and the library is participating in it too. What they do is they decorate lunch bags that they donate to the Winnebago Nutrition Program, and so the people who are the recipients of basically home-delivered food get these fun little bags with a little message on it. It really brings a smile to people who are in this program. A lot of them are homebound, so they don't get out very much. So this just says there's a person out there who cares about them and is thinking about them. So Giving Tuesday is at the Public Library on December 3rd, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go on in, decorate a bag, and knowing that will eventually reach somebody who could use a good smile on their face.
Nice event. All right. We also wanted to, it's that time of year where you're kind of getting down to the end of the year and you kind of want to do your recap of the top 10 for the City Manager's Report. And you always like to solicit ideas from viewers, correct?
Oh, absolutely, because we don't have a council meeting planned for the last Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday of the month. It's Christmas Eve. So what we normally do is a show that we highlight top 10 ideas or things that have been out in the community. Maybe we ran them on CMR. And so if you have some ideas for the City Manager Report, just mail them in. Send us your nominees either through Facebook or email to us through Question Mark or Oshkosh Media. But we want your ideas, and you never know, one of your suggestions might make it into the top 10.
Speaking of Question Mark, this is now time for our regular Question Mark segment here on the show. So let's roll the intro. All right, so this week's question, Mark, it came from Michael on Facebook, and his question is basically, does anyone know the codes for the city as it pertains to pellet stoves?
Well, the easy answer is they're allowed, but we want to make sure that you work closely with our inspections division, because we want to make sure that it's done safely within code. So you are welcome to contact our inspections division for a free consultation. When you go in, just give us information about the type of pellet stove you're purchasing. There are some manufacturer's guidelines, and we'll help you make sure that you install it properly in accordance with state code and just proper safety procedures. You'll have to pay a small permit fee, and then when you've got it installed and ready to fire it up, give us a call and we will do a final inspection. Just call us at 236-5050 and we'll be there, and we'll be happy to help you warm yourself up during the holiday season and through the winter. We know those pellet stoves are popular, but of course we want everybody to be safe.
Sure. So great question. Thank you, Michael, from Facebook on the question mark question. So again, if you'd like to send a question to Mark, you can send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, post it on the Oshkosh Media Facebook wall, or email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of the City Manager's Report. We're going to take a short break here on the City Manager's Report. When we return, we'll be talking about highlights of the upcoming Tuesday, November 26th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more of the City Manager's Report right after this.
Attention Roku and Apple TV viewers. Oshkosh Media's GovTV and Life TV are now streaming live on Roku and Apple TV with many programs in HD. Simply search for Oshkosh Media in the channel store on your Roku or Apple TV device and install the free Oshkosh Media channel. Open the channel to access live streams for either GovTV or Life TV. If you're one of the many who have decided to cut cable, you can still watch live local programming, government meetings, and community-produced shows and content on your favorite streaming device. Don't forget to check out Oshkosh Media online at oshkoshmedia.org or the Oshkosh Media Facebook page for schedules and more information.
Welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, John Urban. Joining me as usual, City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Rohloff. We're now going to be talking about highlights of the upcoming Tuesday, November 26th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. As a reminder, that meeting can be seen live on our website, www.oshkoshmedia.org, or again, for replay times, check out our website or go to www.ci.oshkosh.wi.us. So, Mark, we're going to start things off by talking about item number 3, which is part of this whole dark store loophole we've been hearing about for, I think, years now. And this is to approve a settlement with Walmart for property tax assessments for the last 3 years, is it?
Yeah, it's for 2017, 18, and 19. This is an ongoing issue throughout the state and really throughout the country, where commercial properties are arguing that their property assessments should be lowered. We really are in an awkward spot because we are following the state law, but we're not following a court case. A court case says that we need to consider some of these numbers that that we don't think are accurately reflecting what the true value is of these properties. And so, we follow the rules, and then we're basically getting sued, and so then we need to settle these things. So this is settling it. This is going to be for several $100,000 eventually in terms of taxes. And what happens is that then this gets reallocated in future years because the taxpayers, we collect a certain amount of taxes. So this doesn't lower just Walmart's taxes. This lowers Walmart's taxes and raises your and my taxes. And that's where I think it's just inherently unfair that there's a property tax shift going from some of these large big box stores who demand a lot of services from the city of Oshkosh, and it's transferring into residential property owners. And there's an unfairness issue that the state legislature refuses to address, even though nearly 2/3 of the assembly wants to reform this. Speaker of the Assembly refuses to bring this forward. So I'd like to mention that to Oshkosh residents to let them know that that there is a legislative solution to this, but the state legislature is not doing it.
Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, item number 6 we want to talk about, which is to approve a change order for Public Works contract on CP Avenue parking lot. And this is, in essence, the Convention Center parking lot just north of the Convention Center.
Exactly. For those who've been around a long time, they'll be familiar with this. Was a lot of old industrial areas, a lot of places where things were dumped, and as we were digging through it, we discovered some contaminated soil that was more than what we thought. So, we had a good idea of what it was, but then when we dug it up and really saw the whole depth of it, we have to remove it and put it in a safe landfill. So that cost us about $126,000 more. We were fearing that something like this would happen, but until you open it up, you really don't know. So now it's being taken care of, and we're happy that the parking lot is now done.
I was going to say, it's done now, correct?
Yeah, the only thing that we only put temporary painting down there because of how cold it got so early, but the parking lot's done. So if you go over there, wonderful service. We're very pleased with that. That was very necessary for the convention center in the downtown area. Way overdue. But it just cost us a few more dollars because of the soil conditions underneath.
All right, item number 8 is just sort of a thing people may not be aware of, but the city leases cell towers to telephone providers, correct?
Yeah, our water towers are great high locations for cell tower companies to put antennas. So in this case, this is with Sprint. We've got them with basically all the cell phone companies, and it's a $27,600 annual payment to the city. So it helps offset your water rates because your water tower that we all own, we're using it for cell tower space. So so you can be heard on your cell phone. It's also helping you out with your water rates as well. So this is the example. We got that little cap on top of the newest water tower on Marion Road, so the antennas aren't as visible as they used to be, but they're there.
Is that cap to kind of shield so they don't seem so obvious?
Exactly. The whole idea is that they because there's so many of them, you'd see a bunch of wires and antennas. This way, you just see what we call the little hat on top of the water tower, and it just blocks it, but it still allows you to get your crisp cellular reception that we all have come to enjoy.
And expect.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. All right, item number 10. They're reassigning a polling site for District 4, and I know we have a map to show exactly where this is. And is this why are they moving this polling site?
Any of the locations in town that have had that have been in a school, they've done a safety assessment. And if there's a lot of conflict points with where kids are going through and people coming in to vote or through, we, for a polling place, we need to be open to everybody. And the schools are genuinely concerned about children's safety, and they wouldn't want anybody taking advantage of that. It's not our voters, it's somebody else that might try to take advantage. So we've assessed a few locations, and we've moved a few locations out of schools. Not all of them, but the ones that we know. So in this case, District 4 is the area you see in the dark, and Webster Stanley is pretty well centered there. But for just next year, for 2020, we're moving over to the Oshkosh Public Library. We're much better equipped to manage those types of things, and our library director, Jeff Gilderson-Dewey, generously agreed to make the space available. Come the 2020 census, all the districts going to get redone anyway, so we'll figure out new locations. But for 2020, people will be going a tiny bit out of their district, but we wanted to make it reasonably close, and the library is a very visible location, good ample parking, so we think it's a good location for people to vote.
So will voters in that area get any notice ahead of time beyond just word of mouth, or is this something we're going to be sharing in other ways?
We're going to be plugging it in a bunch of different places, but we will not be sending an individual notice to people. There will be some advertisements leading up to the elections to let people know, but they're not going to be getting a postcard or anything like that letting them know.
So if you're in District 4 and you usually vote at Webster Stanley Elementary School there, be mindful that your location is moved to the library.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, now we're going to be talking about this item that we did talk about the last city manager's report, which is this former Smith School property. There's been an approved zone change. I understand the school board took some action on this last night.
Yeah, they did. They, independent of us, are going through a request for proposals. They awarded the proposal to a local group, Investa Analytics. They were part of the group that did the beach building next door to City Hall, also the granary building. They were part of that group. They're going to be doing something. So what we did in anticipation of this, because it's no longer going to be a formal institutional, we're planning to rezone it to what's called an institutional plan development. So this is the area there, former Smith School, the area entirely in red there at the corner of 18th and Oregon will be rezoned to this zoning. This will allow for flexibility, including something like residential, which sounds like is being proposed. So it'll be consistent with the land use for the area.
So somewhat related to this project is item 24, which is to designate West 10th Avenue and Minnesota Street as a two-way stop. And this is, again, about safety. Yeah,
well, this is the spillover impact of closing Smith, is we have seen some increased traffic at Jefferson School. We've already put a four-way stop at West 11th in Minnesota. This is at West 10th in Minnesota to make sure that Minnesota traffic still stops as it's crossing over by Jefferson School. So we took a look at this after we did some of the safety improvements. You see the yield sign there. We're going to eliminate the yield sign and replace it with a stop sign. And quite honestly, I'm not a big yield sign fan in the first place, so I like this idea, and I think it'll help improve safety, particularly around school closing time.
Makes sense. Okay, item number 28 now. This is to adopt a debt management policy, and the Long Range Finance Committee recommends approval. This is something they've been working on, the city's been working on, the council's been working on. This is a pretty big deal, and there's a lot of components, a lot of moving parts with this, right?
Oh yeah, debt management is something that the council's been very concerned about. The primary metric that they've been using is what percent of our authorized debt limit are we using? And we had been using well over 70%. The goal was to be below 70% by 2020. We've exceeded that. We're actually close to 60% now. But now that we're formalizing this policy, we're saying we want the cap to be 70, but our goal is really to get more down to about half of our cap. But then the Long Range Finance Committee took some advice from our new finance director, Russ Van Gompel, and there are a couple other components that he has seen over the years that he thinks are as effective and help work together to get these done. One of them is how much of our tax levy is being dedicated for debt service. And you'll see from this chart, this is from the 2020 budget, we have about almost 30% of our levy is being dedicated to debt service.
That's the big purple section.
That's
on
the big
bottom.
purple section that's been separated out. The max recommended is about 33%, and ideally getting it down closer to 25% will be better. So our goal will be to get that down a little more. And every dollar we save in that allocation frees up money that can be used for other purposes like operational things, police, fire, things like that. And then there are some other ones, some other metrics that we're also introducing, making sure that we use debt of 10 years rather than 20 years so that we pay it off quicker. All those elements come in, and I think they're all good components, and they represent good financial practices that will be reflect well when we get our bond ratings done.
All right. And just very quickly, under the city manager announcements and statements, there's a couple of items that are really contracts that we get into on an annual basis, correct?
Everything associated with our capital improvements program, as well as any of our annual stormwater programs, we want to make sure that we're reviewing those things. So we have 3 contracts there, but they, total they're about $170,000. So they're nothing to sneeze at, and we want to make sure that we are getting the proper planning done for all these capital projects. So we're real happy to be getting those things done. The budget's adopted. We got to get going on 2020, and that's our plan.
All right, well, thanks again, Mark, for these updates for the upcoming Tuesday, November 26th, Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. There's going to be a lot going on at that meeting. We encourage you to tune in. You can watch it live on oshkoshmedia.org. You can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM. You can also tune in online to the TuneIn radio app for the mobile devices. Make sure to like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all your community and government programming and updates. Or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. And don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Rohloff, send it to us on Twitter at City of Oshkosh, or post it on our Facebook page, or email question@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. So, for City Manager Mark Rohloff, I'm John Urban. Thanks for watching another edition of the City Manager's Report. Good night.